sometimes what I've learned in my clients is that like panic attacks, they just start to like loop and build. Sometimes for panic attacks, what I've learned is like just calling it out can be really helpful, because it varies person to person. But what I've had with some of my clients who have panic attacks is that there's this like fear that they're going to have a panic attack, but then that fear starts to take over. So a lot of the work we do first is like starting to notice like, where do you feel it in your body? And then I'm a big fan of like labeling things and vocalizing it right out loud, not keeping things like internal. So a lot of clients will say like they start to notice the panic attack, the fear, and they'll just say it out loud. Like, I am scared that I'm going to have a panic attack, or I notice my heart rate is increasing, and like bringing it like out there into this space sometimes can be helpful. I've also started to do a little bit work of like with tapping for people. Sometimes we haven't actually used it yet with panic attacks, but I've used it with people who have like anxiety, because I found that like tapping links people back into their body. And I think sometimes we're very disconnected from our body. We've seen so much like brain and body are separate, but they're very much interconnected. And so sometimes a lot of the work that I do is actually just with the body. Like we almost don't even, it's not that I'm like, oh cool, I don't care about your thoughts. It's almost like, okay, great. And like, what does that emotion show up as in your body? Because we can work with that. We can work with movement with that. We can work a lot with like self-touch, with things that show up in our body. We can work a lot with breath, that things that show up in our body. And the person who does progressive muscle relaxation, he said like, an anxious mind cannot exist in a calm body. Like when our bodies are not in like our fight or flight, when our bodies are calm, it's way easier for our brain to think rationally and think creatively and think in this connection space. But when our bodies are in like fight, flight, get me away, it's like, of course we don't have access to all these other parts of ourselves. We have access to like run away or fight or freeze or fawn. So yeah, I like to work on the body, like regulating our body, regulating our nervous system, and then what's possible from there kind of opens up.